everyone, and welcome to the 2024 Boxy Awards. It's been a while since I've been on a screen with Ashley, and I am so excited to have Ashley back to do this, which I think is probably one of our favorite things to do, is just to talk about all of our friends and the wonderful people in the robotics community and how amazing they are. So, good to have you back, Ashley, so we could do this.
I know. I'm so happy to be back. I feel like we've had so much going on this year, but like we haven't crossed paths a ton. So I'm excited to bring it all together, bring it home, and just gloat on some people for a little while and give them the respect that they deserve for sure.
Yes, and I'm extra excited because this year we've revised the categories quite a bit. We have some new categories, we have some categories that went away from last year, and a lot of first time nominees. So it's really exciting to have some new people on there. But let's go ahead and kick it off with a category that we had last year, although technically this time it's just best team. It's not best NHRL team. It's just best team, period. And most of the nominees were within that category last year, but we have a couple of new nominees, so that's pretty exciting. And we'll start off with the first nominee, which is Team Honeycracked. And they won this category last year. And I mean, I really think this year they've stepped it up even more, I feel like, and have a handful of robots that have qualified, which really speaks to the work that they've put in.
Yeah, absolutely. My hat's off always to Zoe and her entire team and everything that they've done. They've had such a presence this year, having, six robots qualifying for world championships, including Liam, who had two on his own, and qualifying two 30-pound robots. So Zoe is doing amazing things across it. And so I'm always excited for this team, of course.
Yes. And the next nominee, I'll let Ashley take most of this. So it should be no surprise to see him Team Defective nominated again for this category. So Ashley, talk about Team Defective.
Yeah, my boys and of course Lil this year. Lil qualified for the Merca finals with her new 3-pound robot Carmine, sorry. And then we have all six robots across the board in the World Championships, including Zach Knight, who has both Prom Hedda and Prom Thrida. And then everything from Carmen to Void to Junkernaut, Maximizer, of course. Hats off to Jake Hoffman, who joined our team this year. So we're super excited to have him. And then our shared, of course, with mine and Implusle. So I'm really excited for all of the work that they have done this year. To just a lot of them only were able to come to one event, and they showed up, they qualified, and I'm excited to have everyone back together at World Champs.
Yes, 100%. Now the next nominee, again, no surprise, Team Pandemonium, who has been recruiting this year, and kind of continues to grow. And I think, Pandemonium is a team that I think is really smart about the folks that they bring into the team. It's a fun team. They're very solid, again, qualified a handful of robots, so I think that really speaks to the level that they've brought to the table.
Yeah, absolutely. They are growing exponentially. We sit with them at every event. So between Panda, Honeycracked, and Defective, we've all just become one big family. And so just to see their team grow and everything that they've been doing and bringing to everything new to every event has been a lot of fun to watch.
Yes. And then another nominee from last year as well is Team Stamina. And I really love what they've been able to do. I mean, Johnny is just such a great leader on that team. And qualifying Spartan, Impact, Amphispina. I mean, like they've really put in a lot this year as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're always just like such a fun group of people to be around. They have a lot of good energy in the pits and they all just jump in and help each other. And it's a cool dynamic to see. And there's still a lot of young faces on that team. So, like, watching them grow up is always my favorite thing.
Yes, that, I mean, really like the future of the sport. Going from that to a couple of new nominees. So first of all, one of the new nominees is Team Too Hot to Handle. And when we talk about Too Hot to Handle, we're really talking about Brian, Glenn, Gabe and Alex, Ian, like all of those folks that are, essentially part of the Fireball team with, BattleBots as well. And they've, I mean, they always bring it. I think like Glenn has just become so good at this. um and so it's great to see him like kind of be part of that team and be a good resource and like person for all of the young folks that are on that team who are also all great in their own right.
Yeah, absolutely. I was looking at some stats and Glenn has like 17K across his two robots for the year. And like that's more than like anybody else that I could think of off the top of my head. And just to like see Glenn finally like have a home as like a non like because we always used to say like he's WPI adjacent, but like he's not, and he deserves that recognition to have that team. And like all of them and the camaraderie that they have, and even like putting on an event and stuff this year too. So Too Hot to Handle is definitely a team to watch, and they're a lot of strong players.
Absolutely. And then last but certainly not least amongst the nominees, and I'm very excited for this because I mean, I just love that team so much, is Sleepy Anime Girls Club. And I think one of the things I really love is that team, it brings such diversity, not only in the makeup of the team, but also in the robots that they bring. I mean, Chainsaw Kitty and Jelly Baby couldn't be more different of robots. And they both qualified for world finals. So I think that that's really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everyone on this team is just such a delight to be around. They're some of my favorite people. I look forward to giving every single one of them the biggest hug every time I see them, and just to watch them grow and expand and do so well is always just so exciting.
Yes. So that is the nominees for best team. So we're now going to move on to favorite guest. And this year, I kind of determined who the nominees would be a little bit differently. I mean, when we look back, honestly, I didn't do a lot of one on one interviews this year. It was way more heavy on like the groups and segments and things like that. But looking at like the response that came through for some of the guests and like the excitement that surrounded that. So the first guest or first nominee for favorite guest on the show is actually two people that I interviewed earlier this year that was a big hit, which is Rachel and Remy de Guzman. I think two people that are just really well loved across the robot community. So really, I think definitely deserving to be a nominee for this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love watching their builds and everything they've done, and like for them to build an arena and everything this year and just help expand the sport in so many ways is always so fun to see. And like, I always just love when Remy comes up the stairs. He's like, "Hey, Ashley!" Like, they just bring so much joy and energy, and their robots are incredible.
Yes, definitely. And then the next nominee we were just talking about, which is Glenn Boxall, who was somebody that I was really excited to have on the show. Just amazing to talk to. I love Glenn's level of confidence, and I mean, he has every right to be confident about his robots. And I mean, just an amazing person in the community.
Yeah, absolutely. Glenn is just such a gem, like of a human being. And so just to be able to like hear more about him in general, because when he's at events, he's so focused and so like as much as he says hello and stuff, like you don't really get that what Glenn knows all of the time. And so to be able to like see that in a different space is really cool.
Yes. Then next we have Alex Price, who honestly, of all the interviews that I've done this year one on one, that video got the most number of views of any builder. So it really speaks to the fact of how well loved Price is in the community. And just excited to get to see her as a nominee there.
Definitely. And Price did a lot of cool things this year with battle bots and stuff like that. And so to be able to hear about that is just fantastic.
Yes, exactly. Calypso's a really cool robot, and we'll talk about that later. But right now, we're going to talk about the next nominee, which is not somebody that I interviewed one-on-one, but has been on the show several times this year and a very popular guest, which is Julian Papazian. And I think Julian's awesome. Definitely one of my favorite people to talk to. He's so enthusiastic about combat robotics, and it really shows.
Julian and I are from the same hometown, and I learned that this year, and I love that. And I was like, no wonder I just like felt your energy. Like, you get me. Like, we grew up in the same place, and like, Julian is just fantastic, and his sister is fantastic, and I love everything about them.
I couldn't agree more. Now, the final nominee in this category, again, it's two people, and I have already told them that if they win, they will both get a Boxy, which is Rob and Gwen. I got so much feedback after they were on the show. I think people just loved that segment, and honestly, they are just delightful to talk to.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the like funniest moments I ever had this year was when Rob and Gwen had a grudge match at NHRL. And then like, but also had a grudge match outside of the cage while they were fighting in the cage. I should put the video on YouTube or something because it's like the funniest thing ever. But just the two of them have the best personalities and they're just so funny and together, and the banter is just phenomenal.
Yes, it was a fun time. I wish people could see some of the outtakes from that episode. um, but yeah, so that is everyone in the favorite guest category. So we will move on now to mentor, and everyone is new to this category, not necessarily new to getting a Boxy nomination, but the first person I'm so thrilled to like include him in this category is Liam King. And I really wanted to include Liam because I think that he has stepped up so much and shown like such a presence and really been able to hone his skills and kind of be a mentor in his own right. Zoe won this category last year, and I think like I really wanted to throw Liam in there because I think he's really just done amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially too, and I'm not sure how many people have like played into this and realized this yet, but Liam is actually at UMD. So he's now part of the Leatherbacks in like in a sense where he's also helping. He's now there with Alex Wang, who's the head of it since Brandon has graduated, and Liam has really stepped up into that role very quickly. And so it's cool to see that he's taken everything that he's done with Zoe and learned and be a driving coach, and now he's even taking it to college with him as a freshman, and like that is just the coolest thing ever.
Yes, I'm a big fan of seeing growth in people, so I think that that's awesome. Now the next nominee again was nominated last year for a different category, but this year for the Mentor Award, and that's Keziah Sky. And I think that like she's really stepped up. I mean, not even just within her own team, being at events, she's somebody that I see like helping other people and giving other people advice, because I mean, with how well Chainsaw Kitty's done, I think people see her as somebody who's really done well from a building perspective and somebody to ask advice from, and I'm just really excited to see her nominated in this category.
Yeah, absolutely. She's definitely very active and in Discord and everything like that, answering questions and just openly. Like it's always cool when people openly will talk about their robots and like they have nothing to hide and they're there to teach, and like that's what we do. Like that's why we do what we do. And so it's been really cool to kind of see her evolve as that too.
Yes, for sure. Now, the next nominee actually is the only person who was nominated for this category last year, and again this year, and that's Corey Nason, from Team Pandemonium. And I mean, Corey has definitely been a mentor to me. I mean, and I know in the outside of the box Discord, he's constantly trying to help others and give others advice, and has taken a couple of the younger people under his wing to try and like help them out and kind of steer them in the right direction. And it's something that he's continued to do. So I definitely felt that he deserved to be in this category again this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only like with kids too, but like even Michael from Stag Beetlebot, I feel like has learned a ton from Corey and like being able to mini bot for Corey and do other things like that. Like Corey makes sure that people stay involved, and that's like really cool. And I love Corey. I always love Corey, right? Like I have nothing bad to say. So he definitely deserves this to be in this category.
Yes. And not to try and split the team pandemonium vote, but the next nominee that we have in this category, because also, I mean, I just really feel like he deserves to be there, is Kevin Biagini. And I mean, Kevin is just he's great. Again, somebody who's very active trying to help others and stuff like that. And I mean, I think like leading Team Pandemonium, he's really been the large part of building that up and bringing these people in and helping them kind of be just amazing in their own right. So I really wanted to nominate Kevin as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, all the work that Team Pandemonium is doing, even with like getting their sponsors and Overture and stuff like that's been really cool to kind of see that growth and support that they're getting from the outside as well. And Kevin definitely deserves the recognition. And I'm really sorry for Pandemonium because I don't know who you're going to vote for.
Yep, there's no double voting. So sorry about that. And then lastly in this category, but definitely not least, is Bunny from Team Malice. And I mean, again, when you talk about looking at a team that has built up and like added so many really key players to their team, from a BattleBots perspective, like Bunny is just such an amazing person as a mentor. Like bringing a Johnny onto her team who actually was nominated last year in this category, and like kind of help him and make him even better than he already is, I think is just one of the many amazing things that Bunny does.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, every time I run into Johnny at an event, he's like always telling me like, "Oh, Bunny did this for me and Bunny helped me with this." And like just always is so appreciative of the work that she puts into people. And so she definitely deserves this nomination for sure.
Yep. So those are the Mentor Award nominees, and we will move on to the representation category. And this is such an important category for me, because I mean, I have a daughter, and as somebody who knows that like she really looks up to seeing women and girls doing the things that she loves and wants to do, I think like having that person that you can identify with and recognize is such an important thing, especially in combat robotics. So for this, we do have a couple of repeat nominees, but a lot of new ones. So again, really excited to bring that out. And the first, which hopefully should be no surprise to anyone, is Dima Papazian. And I mean, Dima has just, I like, some people think Dima's come out of nowhere. I think anybody who's been paying attention this year and looking at like all of the different events knows that Dima has been just a force for much of the year. And I'm so like, I wanted nothing more than Dima to qualify for finals. I was like beyond over the moon that Dima qualified. So again, really deserving nominee.
I swore I wasn't gonna cry, but damn it. Anyways, yeah, no, I mean, I literally cried when Dima won. Like, I absolutely adore Dima. Damn. Um, and I'm just so proud of everything that she has done this year. And she is just so fun to watch and just so caring and generous. And I just, yeah, absolutely adore her.
Yes. And our next nominee, also just a joy of a person, is Price. Price is also nominated in this category. And I mean, Price is somebody that I've known for a while, just peripherally through BattleBots, but really gotten to know this year. And she has such an enthusiasm for combat robotics and just is truly one of the most joyful people that you could talk to. So again, like really excited to have Price nominated here.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the like theming and effort that Price puts into all of their robots, and just like they bring a smile to your face no matter what, and it's just so cool to see someone that can spark that much joy all of the time.
Yes. And like, it's funny. I feel like everybody that I have nominated in this category is such an amazing, joyful person. But
Yes.
the next one, again, no exception to that, and a nominee for this category last year is Kokoto Mane. And I mean, Kokoto's one of those people that, like, if you're around him, you can't help but smile. And he's brought some of the most, fun creations. I mean, the power of friendship is one that I love that. I think it's a fun robot, and when it does do what it's supposed to do, it's a beautiful thing to see. So yeah, I mean, he's just amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. He's always just so happy to be around, and like he's always just so happy to be wherever he is, like, and he, knows everybody night by name. He says hello to everybody. He has that conversation. He's like, "It's so good to see you." And it's like, "You know what, Kokoto, it is so good to see you. Like, you just make me so happy."
Yes, 100%. And then another repeat nominee from last year, but I think somebody who really has been amazing in helping grow the sport a lot with G Scroll is Madeline, from Hijinks, Trijinks, all of those robots. I think Madeline is just really been a force to, like, kind of help things with G Scroll, get those events going and stuff like that, and bring a lot of just like creativity and stuff like that to the sport and everything that she does. So again, I think somebody that I feel is really good to nominate in this category.
Yeah, absolutely. Madeline is just so knowledgeable and so smart, and like always just willing to talk. Like, just will tell you the coolest things and the funniest stories, and like just so I love being around Madeline, and I've been going to G Scroll more, so I've been getting more interaction, and it's been awesome. I love it so much.
Yes. Now the next nominee is somebody that is, again, very passionate and very creative, and that's going to be Jay Lee. Who Jay is somebody that I had the pleasure of meeting last year for the first time, with the first robot that was, brought. And I mean, even though it didn't work the best, maybe not the way that Jay wanted it to work, but it really made a lasting impact, and I think has enabled Jay to continue to bring these really inventive ideas. I mean, who would have thought a walker at 3 pounds? Jay did. So that's just super exciting to see that continued innovation.
Yeah, absolutely. I just love Jay. So much energy that they bring into the pits every single time. And just to be able to be out there, to be sharing, to be doing crazy things that are just sparking conversations. It's so important, and it's so awesome to see.
Yes. And then the final nominee in this category, and I'm sorry, Ashley, I'm probably going to make you cry again, is I was really excited to have the opportunity to do this because, as somebody who has a young girl in combat robotics, I think having another young girl to look up to is really a special thing. So the final nominee in this category is Aria D'Ambrosio, who has just been amazing. I mean, kind of taking the reins over from her dad, Tony, and being able to do what she's done, I think is incredible. And I'm so excited to see the future of what she can do in the sport.
Yep. Yeah, of course. I love Aria, and I'm so glad that over the last couple years I've gotten the opportunity to get close to Aria and really watch who she's becoming as a driver. And I'm just so proud of her, and I just think she's awesome, and it's so cool that other little girls look up to her for sure.
Yes, it's amazing. So those are the nominees for the Representation Award. We're going to move on to the community award, where there is one repeat nominee, mostly new to the category. So again, like it's just always exciting to kind of see some new people get in there. But the first nominee, no surprise because he won this category last year, is Seth Schaefer. Seth is just, I think like he does so many amazing things, and he's so involved. I mean, you see the presence of SSP kits that have been out there, and I mean that really speaks to what Seth's been able to do to kind of drive that as a way for people to get into combat robotics, to encourage them to take that kit and innovate it and kind of change some things on their own to make it their own robot. So I mean, no surprise to see him nominated again.
Yeah, definitely. And like even just attending events this year, like you could tell that he had more of a presence between banners and being there. And like even at the Boxomania event, he was demoing SSP kits. And so he's just out there in the community, like teaching and growing, and it's awesome.
Yes, agreed. And the next nominee, who is new to this category, but also somebody who is well known for, the kits and the parts and everything else, and is a sponsor for so many other builders, that are out there, is Peter Garnosh, with Repeat Robotics. And I mean, Peter certainly has challenged it some ways that people think about competitions and stuff like that. I mean, obviously he's well known as like a mini bot driver and things like that, and I'm sure caused people a lot of frustration in that regard. But I mean, I think he really is, he pushes the boundaries in some ways, and I think that that can be a good thing. And just with the kits and the parts and the sponsorships, really doing a lot there.
Yeah, absolutely. And like he was, for being kind of far away from the East Coast, he was very much present at a lot of events at NHRL this year too, in many different ways, either whether he was there or not, you know. So definitely cool to see how much he's growing. And like it's, I feel like this year especially it was like exponential.
Yeah, for sure. Now the next nominee was nominated last year for the Mentor Award, but this year for the Community Award, and that is Martin Mason. And I think a lot of people, especially since BattleBots has kind of not been as prominent, may not be thinking about the things that Martin does. But on the West Coast, he does a whole lot with the community out there, and is just a huge presence in that area, and I think really needs to be recognized, because combat robotics isn't just East Coast or West Coast or any certain area, it's everywhere. And what he's been able to do out there, with those folks, has been really great.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, like I'm so much aware in general of what goes on over here, but like there are a lot of things that go on thousands of miles away. And so to have that presence like all over the place is super important for sure.
Yes. And then the next nominee, I would say, I can definitely speak to, because with the witch doctor plastic ant kits and everything, my daughter was a big fan of getting to put one of those together. Is Andrea and Mike Galately, with the witch doctor team. I think that the Witch Doctor Junior program has been something that's been really successful. We always talk about, when we're talking about community, is growing the sport and getting more people interested. And that's a great starting point for a lot of kids that may not be able to understand the advanced techniques. And so I think doing that, and also bringing some of those kids that participated in that program to BattleBots for the face-offs and letting them kind of come out with the team and everything, was just a really, really cool thing to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of my favorite things ever this year was when Liv got to build hers, and like we got to see it, and like she had so much fun with it. And so like it's very cool that there's people out there that are putting that much effort into making sure that the kids of the future can get their hands on accessible things and do what they want to do at a young age.
Yes, exactly. And then another person who is not a second time Boxy nominee, but new to this category in particular, is Zoe Lambert. And the reason why I have Zoe in the community building is because what they've been able to do down there with the hive and like all of the things that they have going on, building up Team Honeycraft, like doing more widespread to get people involved in combat robotics, I think has taken it to another level. And Zoe's just done an amazing job at that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they have a whole cage down at the Hive and they had a 12-pound competition this summer and stuff like that. So, and they've built smaller cages for and Antweights for smaller classes and stuff like that. So, she's really like involving every size of the sport in one location, and that's really awesome to see.
Yes. And then the final nominee, which I, again, something I'm really excited about because I mean, some of these like smaller robot communities, they don't get as much visibility and people may not know of all the folks that do all the amazing things that they do. But Mike Mueller with SEMO is somebody that I've gotten to know, pretty recently with having him as a guest on the show. And they've really done so much work to build up the community in Southeast Missouri. And when you don't have necessarily so many resources and you're so reliant on like volunteers and like trying to spread the word, it can be really hard. And I think what he's been able to do and like the way that he's given back to that community is so special.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in some of those Facebook groups and stuff, and like they have like monthly meetings and like sessions for building, and like they are really putting the tools in the hands of the people that want to do it. And that is so cool to see because, like, yeah, that's probably a really small town. I don't know much about what's in Missouri, I'm going to be honest, but like to be able to see that that's happening is so amazing.
Yes, agreed. So those are the nominees for the community award. We're going to go on to what I think is probably the most fun category is the bot style award. And I have a feeling we're going to see some rivalry happening within this category. So the first nominee for the bot style award is Mr. Roper. Because I mean, how could it not be? I think one of the most fun things at any event that Mr. Roper is at is kind of just seeing his fists, do what they do, and I'm like, he's so angry. Why is he so angry? But just it's a fun robot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we've seen so many different color iterations between a pink and a blue and a gold and a black and like a hard hat and everything under like you never know what Mr. Roper is gonna pull up on and like what he's gonna look like, and it's one of the most exciting things to see.
Yes, yes. And next we have buffalo wings, which I mean, anybody who knows me, if the robot has, something of a backside, that's bonus points, for me. I think that that's just great. I love to see like the iterations on the previous idea. We had, kind of hot wings and now we have buffalo wings, and I love it. I think it's fun and glorious.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's just so clean and like effective, but like funny all at the same time, and like just the bright colors and everything. Like the robot just brings me joy.
Yes, yes, definitely. The next nominee in this category is Frank, aka Mr. Steal Your Girl. So a robot that Tony Clifton does not like very much. So I mean Tom always I think comes up with such wonderful ideas. Pause is probably the most viewed robot of all time. But I want to make Frank the most viewed robot of all time.
Feel like Mr. Roper and Tony Clifton might have something to say about that, but I do love Frank. I love the joy that it brings. I love like, and I just love Tom because Tom's like, "Oh, you want to drive Frank around the cage?" I'm like, "Yes." And I just like stomp him around, and like it's just so happy and joyful, and I love it.
Yes, agreed. The next nominee is, I don't know if you want to call it cool or scary. There's a lot of adjectives that can be used to describe Pepe Sylvia. And I mean, the first time I saw it, I was like, that might be the coolest thing that I've ever seen. I just like it just skitters across the box and I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember seeing it for the first time and being like, what is that? And then just watching it evolve and get better and stronger and scarier has just been awesome. And I love this robot so much. And like seeing the way that Luke plays with the colors and has changed it and evolved it is just, it's incredible.
Yes. And then the final nominee, which I would say, even though it's last, definitely in Ashley's heart, it's certainly not least, is a robot that we've only recently seen, which is Daisy from Alex Grant. And when I first saw it, I was like, I immediately like, okay, that's a flamethrower. Before I even saw what it did, there's fire coming out of that cow. And honestly, it exceeded all expectations when I saw it in action. I'm sure that you felt very similarly, Ashley.
Yeah, I was standing like I think I was standing in the line for safety and I looked over and I literally screamed, Alex Grant, did you make a cow robot? Like as loud as I could. And he looked at me and immediately he's like, uh-oh. And I was like, Alex, you literally stole my heart in a robot and just put it on the table. Like Daisy is incredible. I love it so much. It looks amazing. The fact that its ears actuate and work as a self-writer is just incredible. Like, I love Daisy.
I'm not even obsessed with cows, and I still think that it's amazing. So
You can only imagine how I feel.
exactly. So yeah, those are the nominees for the Bot Style Award. Now the next category is one that we had last year, which is most destructive. And crazy enough, something I didn't expect, all of these are new nominees. None of these are nominees from last year. So that some people have really stepped up their game. And the first nominee, which should be no surprise to anyone, is Mako, who has had 8 knockouts this year with a record of 17-5. And I mean, Mako is so terrifying that you've seen in matches where Julian was lined up and the person was like, nope, I'm out. So, that just really speaks to the knockout power that Mako has.
Yeah, absolutely. Mako is so scarily cute. I like love the design, but then I know as soon as that saw starts going, I'm terrified out of my mind. And just to see the amount and like how effectively it can cut through robots is incredible.
Yes. And the next nominee should be really no surprise whatsoever, is Emulsifier. And now Emulsifier hasn't fought many times this year, but every single fight has been a KO. So you can only imagine what things would have happened if Matt had brought that robot more this year.
Yeah, in the 7 events that Emulsifier has been to at NHRL, he has 24 knockouts in 27 wins. So it's a scary robot.
It's pretty frightening. So we'll see. Good luck to all the other 30-pound competitors at finals this year. um Now the next robot, people may say, well, it really hasn't fought very much this year, but it doesn't matter. Like, it's scary, and if it did fight more this year, then there would be some really disassembled robots, and that's Pepe Sylvia. This was a suggestion from other builders, so this is not something that I even came up with myself. But I mean, you can't deny that Pepe Sylvia is scary and can definitely wreck some people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they don't have a great record on the NHRL books for this year, but they did win Motorama this year. So there's definitely a balance, and the evolvement of Pepe Sylvia definitely happened, and it is destructive for sure.
Yes. Now the next nominee is a robot that I've gotten to fight in a grudge, and I'll admit to some extent that was part of the reason for putting it on most destructive, because even though I would not say that my record as a builder slash driver is the greatest, my robots don't get damaged. They just don't. They're built very well and they don't take damage. And Knuckle Sandwich did more damage to my robot than any robot ever has, including Loophole, I'll just add. So Knuckle Sandwich, with an overall record this year of 11-1 with 5 KOs at NHRL, you cannot deny the hitting power and the destructive power of that robot.
Yeah, absolutely. And even I think they competed in 4 or 5 events outside NHRL in the past. And I know took at least one first place win in there somewhere. So they definitely have some destructive power. And it's kind of cool to see like a robot that essentially what debuted in January 2023 did not so good at all. And then like turned it all around and just went on a warpath.
Yeah, 100%. And the next nominee, I get somebody that has almost exclusively KOs, and that is Ares. Ares is an extremely scary robot, 11-4 record with 10 KOs at NHRL. So you know that that's got to be on there. And again, I think they're going to be an amazing force at finals.
Yeah, absolutely. That I was cage side for one of the Aries Warhard XXL matches, and it's scary. Like on all levels of everything 30-pound robot. Like they hit each other, and I was like, oh, okay. Like that's a destructive robot.
Yes, yes. And then the final nominee, really, it came down to I'm like, I can't decide between Warhard and Warhard XXL. So take your pick. Either one of them is going to be super destructive. So let's just say Jonathan Mora's robot, whichever one you want to pick, the final nominee in this category, respectively at NHRL, they have 8 knockouts and 6 knockouts. So I mean, both very destructive and definitely deserving.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's 6-4 with XXL, and all 6 have been KOs. So it's like, okay. Like just looking at Warhard XXL in the pits, you're like, oh, okay. Like that is a beefy robot. Like that is going to deliver some damage, and boy, does it ever.
Yes, exactly. So good luck to everyone, because I think all of these robots on this list are very deserving. So figure it out. That's going to be a hard category to decide. Now the next category is best EO, so best event organizer. And I really wanted to focus on, some of the leagues that are, like, we're not talking about NHRL here. We're not talking about BattleBots. I mean, those are, very large like productions, and they do an amazing job, but we're really focusing on the EOs that, rely super, super heavily on like volunteers and have to do many jobs, and stuff like that. So the first EO on the list here is Casey Jeremiahson from MRCA. And I mean, Casey is just, what doesn't Casey do? I mean, realistically, like he has put so much work this year into growing MRCA. Like it is insane the number of meetings he has with people who are interested in starting events and things like that, and being a mentor and a builder in his own right. Like Casey just does so much. Definitely somebody that deserves to be on this list.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm consider myself pretty lucky that Casey's kind of within our larger inner circle in the robot space. And so every once in a while, like Casey will go dark and you'll be like, what have you been up to? And then you like get this like whole swarm of like everything that he's been doing. And you're like, all right, well, okay, we'll talk to you soon. Like he is just out there growing the sport, working hard, building robots, raising kids, like doing it all. And he's just fantastic. But I want him to come back to NHRL. So Casey, we miss you.
It's a long trip from Minnesota. And so the next nominee is Alex Curtis with G Scroll. And again, when you talk about, I think somebody who I feel like Alex is everywhere all the time, and really just never stops. He's put so much work and effort into building up what they're doing with G Scroll, having more events, trying to find, different things that they can do, and also just participating in so many events as well. Again, he's just everywhere. That's the best way that I can describe Alex.
Yeah, 100%. He is definitely everywhere all the time, and I'm not really sure how he does it. But I tip my hat to him because he gets it done and he's very present and aware. And he does a very good job of leading that whole pack of Jersey conglomerates. And they have expanded their team of EOs over the last, couple years. And it's been really awesome to watch and just see more events happening in that area.
Yeah, agreed. Now I have to give some love to my friends over in the UK, as always. Everybody knows I have a super soft spot for those folks. And so the next nominee is Joe Brown and Bristol Bot Builders. And it's funny. I don't think people realize over here, combat robotics is very prominent in the UK, but in some ways from what I've heard, they have to work just extra hard to get these events going and stuff like that, because they do have a lot of participation, but things are a little bit different over there. But he's just a workhorse. I mean, he is very involved, and making sure that events happen and they go off without a hitch, and I think they just do an incredible job.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's always cool when you see events literally popping up elsewhere. And I mean, I'm an early bird, so when they have events on Saturdays, I'm like, all right, I'm up. Like, let's watch some UK Beatles. And it's cool because some of them do come over here, and so you do get to know them, and so to be able to see them in their own space doing their thing is really cool.
Yes. And the next nominee is a duo of people who run an event that is experiencing a bit of a resurgence. And I think that's awesome to see. And that's Brandon and Sarah running Mass Destruction. And I think I watched the last event. I thought the last event that they did was amazing. And you can tell just from speaking to Brandon directly, how passionate they are and how much they care about making sure that it's fun, and that there's not necessarily that feel of it being a try hard situation. And so for some people in combat robotics, that's what they want to go because it's fun and they just want to build and fight robots with their friends. And I think that's something that MASD really brings to the table.
Yeah, absolutely. I've attended both of the events that they've had, and they have both been a ton of fun. It's a really cool space. The owner of the space absolutely loves having them, and you can tell that he's super appreciative that, we can bring that, they can bring that many people into a space and have it kind of sustain throughout the day. And so it's really awesome to see that they are putting the effort out there and they want to have more events, and it just keeps happening.
Yes. And then the next nominee is somebody who has also just been doing a mountain of work to try and build up the sport and stuff like that. And that's Jason Rogers, down with Backwoods Combat Robotics. And I mean, I kind of follow posts from Jason and what he's been doing and trying to build things up so that they can host higher level weight classes like 12 pounds, 30 pounds, even 250 pounds down there in Tennessee is pretty incredible. Unfortunately, for some people that don't live on the East Coast, it can be hard to get to NHRL, which is the one place that you can take those higher, weight class of robots. And to have a resource in the Midwest to be able to do that and not necessarily have so far to travel, I think he's recognized that need. That's something that people want, and really done a great job of helping build that up and make that accessible.
Yeah, definitely. And I believe he's kind of involved with Osprey Robotics and stuff like that, and all the kits and things that they've been coming out with, and just being part of Team Danby now and things like that. So definitely out there in the community working to grow it, and has a really good team around him for support for sure.
100%. And then the final nominee in this category, again, somebody that I've gotten to chat with this year and talk to, and that's Rob Farrow out there on the West Coast, which again, I really like to give the West Coast folks some love because for a lot of us, we just don't have the exposure because we're so far from there. And I think that, again, they've really been doing this for a long time and they've worked to kind of build that up. Not only that, but I mean, Rob is involved with the robot combat events and like kind of getting the event information out there and making sure that people can sign up and, get involved and stuff. So I think he's just done an amazing job in that part of the world, getting people more involved in combat robotics.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, any resources that are out there that are making it accessible is a huge win for everybody, right? So, I mean, everything that no matter where you are, it's important. And so it's cool to see that there's people advocating like all over the place.
Yes, exactly. And I'm really excited for the next category because it's one that we didn't have before. And I thought it was really important to specifically give the Antweight robots some love because, we don't see them at NHRL except if they're a smaller mini bot type of thing. So I wanted to recognize those builders in particular. And it should come as no surprise that the first nominee in the best Antweight category is Mud Skipper. Because, I mean, Remy has been so insanely dominant with that robot. MRCA finals are actually today as we're speaking. So we'll see if he wins that again. But I think it's a really great bot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Mudskipper's been around now for 3 years and has at least 8 first place finishes. Like, it's not a joke. And like, we don't talk about Antweights a ton, but like, I love the Antweights. They're one of my favorite classes to watch because you never know what's going to happen. And like, you can deliver a lot of destruction in 1 pound. And I've learned that. And I've learned that especially through Mudskipper.
Yes. And the next nominee, I'm sure will be an interesting one for some, but the next nominee is Scalar. And I think people think of it more as that it's a kit, but I mean, you can't deny the fact that that kit in particular, it's a lot of people have taken that and decided that that's what they want to go with because they find it to be really effective. And I think, Peter's come up with something that is really like it's the I don't want to say it's like the Antweight version of an SSP because it's not, but I mean it's a really effective kit that people have been able to, learn very quickly and like build it and has been effective.
Yeah, definitely. And I definitely know some Antweight builders that have been like, I have to deal with the rise of the scalar because now I have to like have super good configurations to be able to counter it because it is so effective and it is winning events and it is doing well. And so it's pretty awesome.
Yes. Now the next nominee is a robot that I've been hearing about consistently over and over again as like this robot is scary, which is Cheesecake. That everybody's like, this is the robot to beat. And I mean, you definitely can't argue with its effectiveness. I mean, it's been pretty good and definitely something that those that participate in G Scroll seem to be pretty afraid of.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually the builder of Cheesecake is moving. So I feel like people in G Scroll are feeling a little bit relieved. Not going to lie, but he's also scaling up Cheesecake into a 3 pound robot. So I'm super excited to see how that does. But yeah, Cheesecake is awesome. Cheesecake is destructive. And the builder brings mini cheesecakes for you so that you just win, right? Like
Exactly. If you get free cheesecake, it's always a good day. Um, and the next nominee for Best Antweight is Blight, which is well known in the MRCA. And Ben is the builder of that. And Blight, I believe, has a record of 26-7 this year. One of the top robots in MRCA in the Antweight division. And again, I think one that people tend to be pretty scared of.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I saw they are rank 1 on RCE right now, which means they've outranked Mudskipper, which is like pretty incredible to think about in the big scheme of things. So if that's the case, then I don't know much about Blight, but I feel like I'm gonna go watch the MRCA finals and figure out what it is. So
Exactly. And so the next nominee, well, actually, you'll definitely be able to speak to the next two. But the next nominee is Humu Humu, which is actually I didn't realize that they were also ranked in MRCA as well. But you can certainly speak to that robot.
yeah, so Humu Humu is its short name. It's actually the whole name of the Hawaiian state fish, which is Humu Humu Umu Umu Kuna Kuna Una Papa or something. I probably said it wrong, and so I do apologize, but I tried my best. So this comes from the Sir Spinney family. So I absolutely love them. And yeah, they have traveled, like Sal takes Evan and Andrew all over the place. They go to G Scroll, they go to MRCA, they go to NHRL. Like they are everywhere. And Huma Huma was just this cute little lifter bot, and it's just so adorable, but it's so effective. It won second place at the May event at G Scroll this year, and it's just so fun to watch.
Yes. And then the final nominee in this category for best Antweight is Harlequin, which I'm told again I'm not as familiar with it, but it's a cam lifter.
Yep, so Harley Quinn's just a little 1 pound Antweight cam lifter. It's like the cutest little thing. It comes from our friends at the Bot Barons. Lyndon is the driver of Harley Quinn and has done really well at G Scroll this year. Took first place at the last event that it was at, and stuff like that. And it's just so fun to watch, and it's just such a little nuisance. And the name is just so fitting for the robot too that it just makes me happy.
Yes, I do love the name. That's really cute. Okay, so those are the nominees for best Antweight. And then the next category is the one shot award, and it basically is best hit, like knockout hit, kind of situation. And so I think we have a lot of nominees for this that happen to come from a particular event where a lot of things happened. But the first
Redacted.
one, redacted. The first one is not from that event. It's actually from the most recent event, which was the shot that Mako got on Kavako, which was just as soon as it happened, and you just see like all of this smoke. I was like, yes, like it is so exciting to see the robot do the thing that you are expecting it to do. And that was an amazing example of that. I'm sure that the Kavako folks probably weren't so happy with it, unfortunately. But it just a great shot by Mako.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you can deliver that much precision in one shot and just do exactly what you need to do and then get out and be like, okay, I'm all set. Like, okay, I'm done. Awesome. Like, just like that. That's exactly what I built this robot to do. And like, chef's kiss that that's how it happens.
Yes, exactly. Then the next nominee, I'm so sorry, Brandon, is
Same.
Pepe Sylvia on Vorion. Um, that there were a lot of pieces of things after that. And that's if there's any illustration why Pepe Sylvia is the most destructive, that hit is the illustration of that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Brandon. I love you though, and Vorion's still one of my favorites, but I that was not fun to watch. I mean, I'm sure it was for Luke and other people, but for me, it hurt a little bit on the inside. But yeah, Pepe Sylvia, so destructive, absolutely insane.
Yes, yes. The next nominee, which also happens to be from Redacted, was Beetlejuice on Sombra. Which again, why do people hate the Brazilians so much, man? Why? But Ariel got just. I mean, it was amazing. It was a thing of beauty, and it shows like just how good she's become with Beetlejuice.
Yeah, having to like not talk about moments like that for like long periods of time is like what hurts me to my core, and just being like, I can't wait for people to see that. Like, she took Sombra out just like that. Like, it was not even, and like, it was insane in the moment, and even more insane to like once everybody saw it and knew that that's what happened.
Yep, yep, exactly, exactly. Um, the next nominee was a builder suggested nomination because I was told you can't not include this. And that is Knuckle Sandwich on Spitfire, where essentially Knuckle Sandwich punted their own mini bot into Spitfire. Um, again, like that's how you want it to happen. Like, I mean, I guess probably not exactly that way, but that's a creative way to take Spitfire out, I have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I wasn't like cage side, but I was definitely downstairs when it happened, and the like fans just erupted. And it was like, what just happened? And then you just see Spitfire just like laying in the cage, and you're like, oh, now I know why people were cheering, because that's epic. Like, cool.
Yep, yep. You have to get creative with your solutions, and that was certainly a creative solution.
100%.
Yeah. So the final nominee in this category, again from Redacted, and again, I'm so sorry, Bob,
Sorry, Bob.
is Maximizer's hit on Blue Marlin, RIP.
R.I.P. Red Marlin. Like,
Re-
never again, Bob. Never again. Okay? That's all I'm going to say about that. Jake, I love you. Bob, I love you. But, like, no, stop it.
Just last, it's time for the last rites on that robot. Yeah. Okay, so those are all of the nominees for the one shot award, and trust me, I'm sure people will be in the comments and saying, why didn't you nominate that? Because there's so many. It would take so much time to look through every piece of footage. So that's the nominees. They're all deserving. They're all deserving. Now we're going to move on to the only BattleBot specific category, and I really wanted to do a best new BattleBot because BattleBots is still a thing. It still exists, people, and I think that the folks who are coming up with new designs really deserve some love. And so I wanted to do a best new BattleBot category, which I'm sure Ashley's really excited about because the first nominee in that category is Magnitude. So Ashley, please tell us why Magnitude is the best new BattleBot.
Magnitude is the only answer that should be an option for this question. I would just like to point it out. But no, Magnitude has been doing fantastic things. We had a great showing at Robo Games. We've been to fall face-offs. We were out in Vegas again, the other weekend, and we've done Destructathon and things like that. But Magnitude is destructive. It's pretty. It's beautiful. It has the best captain ever, and our team is just amazing. And everybody should vote for Magnitude. But I'm not biased, I swear.
Ashley might be a little bit biased. Vote your heart. Vote your heart. The next nominee in this category, people may say it's not new. It's less new than the others, but technically, Manta has never competed on a televised like BattleBots official season, and so it is still new. And I mean, no one can really deny like Manta is a really solid robot. It has proven that at Robo Games. It has proven that like in other areas at the BattleBots like the Destructathon and stuff like that. It's just a really solid, well put together robot, and I would be very excited to see it in like an actual season of BattleBots.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Manta is terrifying and destructive, and it's awesome and it's cool. And I give them a lot of credit for sure.
Yes. The next nominee, I would say for me, probably it's in there more for aesthetics than anything because what like it's a taco robot. Like, who does that? Carter Hurd does that. And so Taco Tuesday, just probably one of the most interesting ideas that I have maybe ever seen for a battle bot. And I think it's fun. Like, it brings a lot of whimsy, which is something that I'm like a big fan of when it comes to robot building. And so I kind of had to put them on the list.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're fun, they're awesome. It looks cool, it's hilarious. Like, who would have ever thought they could make a food themed robot and literally actually make it look like a taco, but have a weapon on it? Like, that's awesome. Like, my hat's off to them for sure. I love the creativity. Like, I live for that for sure.
Exactly. I'm a stan, as everybody knows, for food themed robots, although I think they went a little bit more literal than I did with the food theme. So, now the next nominee is a robot that I've talked about a couple times on the podcast, and that's Orbitron. From a team that is, kind of supported and backed by the folks at the Hacksmith. Orbitron has, the AI functionality, and it's a really cool, inventive idea. They're doing things that, really haven't been done so much before, at that level. And it's something that I'll be really interesting to see, like, how that goes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's every time you see something that's like super new and innovative, like, of course it's going to be captivating. Like, it's really awesome. Like, because that's what we strive to do is build cool new things that people haven't done before. And so I love when people take it to that level.
Yes, exactly. And then the final nominee in this category is a robot that I referenced earlier, and have definitely talked about on the show, and that is Calypso. Interestingly enough, I believe Horizon was a nominee on the last iteration of the Boxies, and so Calypso is the newest idea from Josh Kong, and I just think it's so pretty. Like, that team has no shortage of pretty robots. And I think it's just such a neat, interesting idea. And something that I think really speaks to the types of things I like to see in design.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I'm all about the aesthetics and how cute and the cute things can be and like how awesome they are and like I like crabs, like that's cool. So like I'm here for it. Like, right? Like I grew up all around the ocean, so like that speaks to me. So I love it. Like
Yep, Krabby Bot Nation. Let's go.
let's go.
So those are the nominees for Best New Battle Bot, and then we're down to our final category, which is the Clutch Award. And basically, one thing I've noticed at events is seeing the number of people that just like help other people and are there for other builders. And I really wanted to include something that celebrates the people that do that, because I can tell you that every single time that I've competed, there is no way that I would have even had a bot in the box if not for the help of other people. And so I think it's just so important to kind of reward the folks that do that. And the first person on the list, should be no surprise to a lot of people, and that's Jaron Liebson. And Jaron is just truly one of the most genuine people, like just genuine and nice, and somebody that I think is very like forward helping others. And I think you can see that if you go to any event that he's at.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Jaren for sure. He is one of my favorite robot children. He has definitely evolved in the last year and a half or so and has become a presence at events and is always willing to help anybody that needs it and has jumped in to help us multiple times, to help Honeycrack, to help anybody that's around. Like he is just there. He coaches new WPI kids during their fights and he is just there and helping and just an amazing, like you said, genuine person to just be in your corner. And I'm grateful for him for sure.
Yes. The next nominee is a person who kind of started out as a fan of NHRL and has really been somebody that, can be relied on and helps out a lot of folks. And that's Chris Monroe. And I know he's somebody that helps Team Defective quite a lot. So I know you may be able to speak to that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. From Chris's first event, like he kind of just sat with us because he knew someone that knew someone, right? And so, but from there, like we have become so attached to him, and his daughter is like one of my favorite people. And Chris is always just willing to be there no matter what. It doesn't matter who needs it, what needs to be done. Like he's just like, what do you need? And he will put everybody else before himself. And it has just been so incredible and so helpful, like especially for Team Defective. But I am grateful for him like 1,010%. I can't even explain.
Yes. And the next nominee hates the fact that he's nominated. I'm sorry. I can't deny somebody who's helpful. So please vote for him because he's not going to like it. And that's Ethan Shipley. Ethan, I mean, he is he's one of the most helpful people. He's somebody that I could go to and ask any question, and he's just going to be straight up honest with me, but he's also going to be super helpful in like whatever questions that I have. He is invaluable at like MRCA and helping out with a lot of teams and people at NHRL that rely on him. Like he's just, I don't think he realizes how helpful he is, but like truly, there's so many testimonials that I'm sure people could give of like him helping them.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we love Ethan. We've pulled Ethan into our group and we are very thankful for him, but we know how important he is to so many people, and whoever needs the help is who's going to get it when it comes to him. And so he doesn't care who you are, like he will just help and jump in, and has literally gotten people back into the box when they've told him they're not capable of doing it. And so he puts that effort out there and it needs to be recognized. And Ethan, I'm not sorry. Like,
We're not sorry at all. So deal with it. Um, so the next nominee was another builder, nomination suggestion, and that's Alon Belkin, who I mean is somebody that I've seen super active in a lot of like the Discord situations and providing advice in that way, and somebody that I know is just really invaluable at BattleBots. And I think to have somebody like that at BattleBots where you're dealing with 250-pound robots and like, yes, you have teams, but different people have different expertise. And sometimes like bringing in that third party to figure out a situation is so helpful. And just there's a number of people that I know are really grateful for what he's able to contribute.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, once you get into especially like the 250 pounds and like the mechanicals that are behind it, and everything is just set at a larger scale, and to be able to have a resource to be able that can actually sit down, diagnose the problem, help, and like move forward is super important. And so anybody that's able to do that, like my hat's off to them.
Yes, definitely. And the final nominee for the Clutch Award is somebody that has helped me personally. And again, somebody that I think maybe doesn't think that they do that much, but really does, is Matt Lantry. I mean, Matt personally is one of many people who helped me in a situation where I was like, I don't even know if this robot's gonna work. It might not. And it did. And he was one of those people that helped. I think he has a wealth of knowledge, and is really able to bring that to every event, and again willing to help out others who need it. So like Matt's very deserving.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's another one that's very active in the Discords and just answering questions. And obviously, like, he's made wheels for people overnight and like pre-events. Like, thanks for helping me bail Jaren out earlier this year, Matt. Like, you are clutch for sure. And yeah, he's just around. Like, Panda has a presence. And so I think with that, Matt has kind of also blossomed and really like put effort out into the community. And like, when people are showing up to events with boxes that are for many different people, like they're helping. no matter what. Like they're helping going into the fight and then they're there when it's done to be like pick up the pieces as well.
Yes, for sure. So those are our nominees, folks. And I can tell you that like Ashley and I probably wish that we could nominate 20 people in every category, and really like recognize so many more people, but otherwise this would be a 3 hour long show. So we have to limit it somewhere, but everyone's super deserving, just so excited to see these folks get recognized in some way, and make sure that you vote. If there's somebody that you really like and you want to show them the love, make sure that you do that. We'll have the voting link available. It'll be up probably at least for a week or two, so make sure that you get those votes in and make sure that who you want to win comes out on top in the end. So any last thoughts from you, Ashley, before we wrap it up?
No, I mean, I'm just super appreciative that we got to do this again, that we got to, talk about our friends or so for the last hour plus. And it's just always so fun to kind of wrap up the year this way. And I'm appreciative of you for letting me come on and do it.
Of course, I would not want to do the Boxy Awards without you. So, yeah, so make sure you vote. If you have any thoughts on, the nominees or anything like that, please feel free to share in the comments, and we'll be excited to see who the winners are so that we can let them know. So stay tuned, keep watching, make sure you watch NHRL finals, and I'll see everybody next time on the show.